Yes, good morning, Nirmit. Also, good morning, all of you. Share the screen as well. So, if someone could just confirm that you can.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thanks. So, before we start with the next example, um, actually don't remember whether we completed our previous one, but anyway, before we start the next one, we'll just go through a brief overview of the mapper and the reducer classes which we are using in our code. And I deliberately did not discuss this earlier because I just thought we'll have a hands-on first, get used to some of the syntaxes, and then we'll understand what is exactly happening in the code. So as you know, um, in all the examples, I think just a couple of one maybe or one example that we have tried, maybe two examples. We have written three classes inside the .java file. One is the main class, or what we call as a driver class. That is, of course, the programmer defined class. What I mean by this is, let's say, for example, the code that we will try today. So in this case, this is our main class. In this case, it's called max salary, in which we have the mapper class, which extends mapper. So this mapper is what we will discuss now. So why is it the way it is written here? Okay, what is this syntax? What does it mean? Similarly, the main max salary class contains another class which is my reducer, which extends the reducer class. So again, what is the definition of this? What does the map function do? What does the reduce function do? And then the max salary class, of course, apart from these two classes, that is the mapper and the reducer classes, which are internal to it, it also has the main function or main method, which is the entry point for the code. That is where execution will begin. Then here we actually mention that this is our main class, max salary, this is our mapper class, and this is our reducer class. Okay. So now let's take a look at what is this mapper class all about, from which we extend our my mapper class. So what is the package in which it is defined? So it is org Apache Hadoop map reduce. Naturally, that is why we will have to include it. Okay, so this is this mapper class import. This is the reducer class import. It is org Apache Hadoop map reduce dot mapper dot reduce. Then what is the definition of this class? So this particular class, as we can see, has four parameters defined here, which are key in, key out, value out. So effectively, the mapper class says I'll accept, I'll rather deal with the key input and key output, and the value input and the value output. Okay, so how does that exactly work? Let's see. So it maps the input key value pairs to a set of intermediate key value pairs. Like the way it happens in our Python MapReduce example also, the mapper code will not do the final processing, but it will just help the reducer code to segregate the key value pairs. Then the reducer code will have the actual logic. Maps are the individual tasks which transform input records into intermediate records. The transformed intermediate records need not be of the same type as the input records. That's a very important point. It's not necessary that if, let's say, you receive, let's say, for example, integers, you have to output integers. No. So, may, for example, even transform that into floats. Let's say you aggregate, multiply by some float value, and you output a float value. So that's perfectly okay. Also, a given input pair may map to zero or many output pairs. That is, in some cases, depending on certain logic or conditions, you may not actually output something because, let's say, fields are missing, fields in a sense, values are missing, values are corrupt, something needs to be grouped in the mapping code itself. So that may result into a situation where there is an input but no output. The Hadoop MapReduce framework spawns one map task for each input split generated by the input format for the job. In simple terms, whatever is the input file for this will have a map task. Mapper implementations can access the configuration for the job via the job context.get configuration. So in our code, here you would see that we have initialized this configuration. This is the configuration that we are talking about. Okay, and that configuration object, if you see, is later on used here to create an instance of a job. And then what we are saying is this will be used later on in the mapper class. So here, when we are instantiating this configuration and we are passing it here we actually get to read the input file. That input file is then associated with the mapper class. That is the meaning of what we read just now. So the configuration object will initialize, associate itself with the input file, and then that will be used by the mapper class. The mapper class will obviously look at the contents of the input file, which let's say is, in this case is this file. Skip some of the over technical details. So here, for example, the documentation has written a token counter mapper by extending the mapper class, which again has these four parameters. Okay. And then in turn, we have the map function inside the mapper class, which has three parameters. First is the object key, second is the text value, third is the context. There are three parameters in the map method or map function. So in our code also, if we look at the map function, here we have the first parameter, which is the key, second parameter is the value, third parameter is the context. Okay. So remember that the mapper class, which extends this standard mapper class, has four parameters: input key value, output key value, whereas the map of function has three parameters, which are the input key, input value, and the context. So this is the context that we were talking about earlier in the documentation. So here also it is the key, the value, and the context. We'll also take a look at this map method here. This map method, which we use in our code, has a key input, value input. It is called once for each key value pair in the input split. Most applications should override this, but the default is the identity function. In other words, it provides a standard definition, but in our code, obviously, we will have to write our own code by overriding this function. So we also do that here. So we write our own code. So we take the input key, the input value. That's what we write to the appropriate output. So we actually set the key and the value before we write it. So this key in and the value in. Maybe we could have opened in the not showing the detailed definition of it. Anyway, so I hope we have a brief idea of what this mapping function is all about. Similarly, we can take a look at the reducer. So the reducer class also has 4 parameters: key in, value in, key out, value out. What is the job of the reducer class? Before that, we'll also see our reducer definition. So here our reducer class also has 4 parameters. Okay, so those parameters are key in, value in. So this is key input, value input, key output, value output, key output, value output. In other words, what does this mean? Reducer class is receiving a key which is of type text from the mapper. Reducer class is receiving a set of values, that is the key value pairs. The values are also of type text. Whereas what the reducer class is going to write to the output is int writable as the output, and whatever it's going to also write as the output is the text. Okay, the key output in our case is an int, and the value output in our case is just as the mapper function has 3 parameters, the reduce function also has 3 parameters. So here also we have the key, we have the list of values, and we have the context. So I hope that it's symmetrical and easy to follow now. Mapper and reducer class both have 4 parameters: key input, value input, key output, value output. Similarly, reducer has key input, value input, key output, value output. The map and the reduce function in turn have 3 parameters, which are what you want to read as the key and the value, and here what do you want to write as the key and the value. So reduces a set of intermediate values which share a key to a smaller set of values in this here. Shuffle. So reducer has 3 primary phases. First is the shuffle phase. The reducer copies the sorted output from each mapper using HTTP across the network. So this is what we don't see, right? We saw this in the earlier diagram explained theoretically, but the Java reducer function actually shuffles this first. So the reducer copies the sorted output from each mapper using the HTTP method across the various parts of the Hadoop cluster on the network. Second, it performs a sort. The framework merge sorts the reducer inputs by keys. So after shuffling it brings them together and sorts on the basis of the keys. The shuffle and sort phases occur simultaneously. That is, while outputs are being fetched, they are merged, okay, to reduce the overheads. And then we will have the grouping function. Is the reduce function. So in this phase, the reduce method is called for each key in the sorted inputs. The output of the reduce task is typically written to a record writer. So that is how we write it. So here we say con dot write. And as we can see here, the output was going to be key as int writable. So that is what we write here as the key, value as text, value as here, for example, it says it's going to write simply key and int writable. So it says key and int writable, which is result. So result, if you see, is something which is derived from sum. So sum is set into result. So sum is int, which means result that we are writing here is int writable. So here result has been initialized to, so that is the output key output value, which is int writable. So result in key we at least have a broad these are and how it work at high level. Of course, as we try more examples, things will become clearer. Maybe what we'll do also, they'll just open one of our previous examples to show you some difference. Let's say we take this word count example. In the word count example, here what we are going to write to the output is text type as the key. That is why the first parameter is text key. And let's look at our current code now. Current code also we have text, okay, as the key. This is the then here in the word count example, sorry, we should look at this text as the key and int writable as the result. Okay, so text as the key, int writable as the result. Here also int writable as the first value in the output, text. So in other words, this is not fixed. This depends on what we want to write. In some cases, we may want to write float values here. In some cases, we may want to write text values here. So this definition and this definition. So here we have text, text, int writable, text. Whereas here we have text, int writable, and then int writable again. Okay, so text, int writable, text, int writable, which is different from what we have in the current example. If we take yet another example, it could be different. Here, for example, it's text, int writable, text, text. So it just depends on what we are outputting. And of course, what we are receiving as the input also from the mapper class. If the mapper class is sending us text and integers, it will be text and int. If the mapper class is sending us text and float, it will be text and float writable. From what we are outputting from the reducer class, if you are outputting text, it is text. Sometimes we may, for example, output EMP number and, or let's say, department and maximum salary, in which case it could be text int writable. So here also we would have text int writable, unlike here where we have text. Let's take a look at maybe one more example to illustrate the point. Here. Here we are outputting text and int writable. That is a student, or rather I think it's subject and the marks. Subject and marks. Subject and marks. What we are receiving as an input is also text int writable. Why? Because the mapper class is sending text int writable. Text int writable is received. Whatever the mapper is sending, those will be the first two parameters here. Whatever is the reducer writing to the output, those will be the two remaining parameters here. Okay, any questions about this broad level understanding before we try out the next example? Can someone confirm what examples have we tried so far? One is the word count example. And what else have we tried?
So we have only tried word count only. No, nothing else in Java.
Oh, then let's try our second example. The
So, could
yeah,
you please explain some parts of the code again? Like, I'm confused with the key part, what it is and how it works. Like, what is the functioning?
let's take a look at the word count example, since that's the one anyway we have tried. So when we look at the mapper class, what the mapper class is going to do, look at it actually as the first two parameters as input and the last two parameters as the output. So whatever is the mapper class receiving is going to be received, let's say, using these two, and whatever it's going to be outputting is going to be based on these two conceptually. So how do we do it is in the map method, we simply receive whatever is our input, and then what we are going to do is we are going to split this into key value pairs, because that is what we wish to output, so that this becomes the input to our reducer code. So if we look at our input file, this, then initially when we start, okay, we look at the word count code, there is of course no key, no value here. But that's what we need to generate in the mapper class. So what the mapper class will do is it will receive the input as let's say this particular value, and this value is nothing but this text, okay, which is coming as this value here, right? Object key is here unknown at this moment. This is what we have to actually generate. So the mapper class, when it receives the first parameter as object, that is usually dummy, there is nothing. But the second parameter holds the value which we ideally need to parse. So this value we will parse, and here we are using an iterator to break it down, and then we are breaking it down into key value pairs. How? We read the first value, let's say for example the word A, and in the output we say A followed by 1, because that is what we are writing here, A 1, right? So the input value, which was A, there was no key. So object received as key is nothing, but we are going to create it now. And the second parameter text, which we received as A, we wrote it to the output as it is, followed by its count, which is 1, because we have initialized 1 to the integer 1. Because we cannot directly write int values here as per the Hadoop convention, we have to use different data types, that is int writable. Because we have to use the context.write method, which doesn't accept an int, but it accepts an int writable. We simply convert this 1 into an int writable. As a result, what has happened? We have written A comma 1. Then what is the next text value? Cat.
So cat.
Yeah, same logic will repeat. This has already happened, of course. So we are already in this loop. So it will now write cat comma 1. This is nothing but these are the two outputs that the mapper class is writing.
One is the text and one is the int writable. So like the cat is the text and one is the int writable, right?
Absolutely right, which is what we receive as the input later on in the reducer class.
Okay.
We
So
receive
one question. So you said ki after the first time, the object will have some value now, right?
Mhm.
So what will it have right now? Like, so the first time we ran the event, so the object was in dummy, had a dummy value.
Yes.
Now in the second case, what does it have?
It again continues to have no value. See, what happens is this object that way is not useful here, but in some rare cases, the mapper code itself receives key value pairs. So it doesn't have to do the parsing logic,
Okay. Okay.
which is when we don't even override the map function. We just simply let it write whatever it has received. So if it's received, let's say object text, or we also say object text. So mapper will by default simply output whatever it has received. So mapper itself is almost dummy. So whole work will be done by the reducer. But since that is a rare possibility or an exception, which is why we may or may not override the map function. We don't override it if we don't touch any of these. We do absolutely no processing. It already comes as key value pairs. But since that's not the normal behavior, we override this and we ignore the object. Just look at the value.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Then when we are in the reducer logic, that is also why you would have seen that this is already in the sorted and grouped type of data set or data structure, because as we saw in the documentation, it's not just reduce that is called, but before reduce is called, it already does the shuffling and sorting part. That is sort of invisible to us. But again, we have the option of overwriting it. So here, if let's say we write our own shuffling class, so we want to do something different than the usual shuffling and combining behavior, then we can override it. But if we don't want to override and do nothing, we give the same name of the reducer class to the combiner class. Then it knows that we are not doing anything different. So it actually ignores this, or we can even comment it. So it will not override the default behavior, and instead it will just run it as it is. So if we put the system.out.println statements, I don't know whether we did it last time. If we do so, uh, in the logs, we see that when the reduce code runs with whatever key value pairs it has received from the mapper class, whatever it's going to write sorry, here. So the key value pairs and whatever it's going to write as the output, while doing so, it already receives values which are grouped and which are sorted, which is why the job here is very easy, which is just to look at the values and either sum them, average them, find the max, whatever you want to do.
So in the case of reducer, the keys will be the words, right?
Yes, correct. But we of course have the option that here, for example, the reducer has received A1, cat 1, dog 1, and all that, and it's again finally outputting A, let's say for example 5, cat 3, whatever is the count. But we have the option whereby we say, no, no, I don't want to write the same key. Maybe I want to write something different. I want to, let's say, output a group of words. Then instead of this text, I may have some other value here. Again, I may not want to output the total count. I want to do something else with this. So the point is, whatever is the input key, input value need not be
Output key and output value.
absolutely. So the types here could be very different. This goes by our logic. All right. Is it clear? Any more questions?
So it's clear.
Then let's try a second example. We just try a simpler example. Let me just check. Okay, I think this is a straightforward example. So here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to find out, I think, the maximum marks in each of the subjects. So I'll just go through the code. Now, based on our understanding, actually, it should be fairly simple for you to understand, but I'll explain it anyway. The main method has nothing different as compared to our first example. Again, it simply checks whether we have passed the input file and the output file. If we haven't, it exits with an error code. If we do have the correct inputs, it sets the jar file, student.jar. It sets the main class, which is max min marks. It sets the mapper class. It sets the combiner class. It sets the reducer class. And here, by the way, is another change that you may have to make. So depending on what we are outputting, so here we are outputting text and int writable. So here the output key class is set to text, output value class is set to int writable. So if you're doing something different, for example, you are writing float, you may have to change it to float. Again, the rest of the code remains absolutely same. So as you can see in the main method, we simply have to change the name of the jar file, main class, mapper class, reducer class, and optionally the in the output key and the value class type. The rest of the structure remains exactly the same. Then in the mapper code, what are we doing? So in the mapper code, we are saying read as usual the input data. So the input data will be in this format. That is, first of all, let's say something like the roll number or PRN number, name of the student, the age, I think, then subject and marks. So we will read that entire line, splitting at commas, and then we look at column number 3. Okay, so column number 3 is we start counting at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So that is our column number 3. Then we look at column number 4. Sorry, this would be column number 3. That is physics or chemistry subject code. And column number 4 will be marks. So output key will be set to the subject. Output value will be set to the marks. So we are writing key as the text value and integer as the output value. So we set the key here, we set the value here. Simply output the key and the value. So that's what we receive here as the input, key and the value. We write text and int writable, we receive text and int writable. What we are going to output also is a similar thing, text and int writable. What do we do in our logic? We just initialize a few variables for our logic. Then we check for all the values. If marks are greater than what we set in the max, we change the max value. If marks are less than the minimum, change the minimum value. Remember that this is going to be run once for every key. Right? So all the values for one key. So all the values for physics will be processed. Then we print the max and the min. Of course, in this case, it will be the opposite. Rather than physics first, chemistry second, it will be chemistry first because it is sorted on the key, and then physics. Then it will output the values for physics. So you can try this example. I'll first of all upload this file on our chat. Then you can take snaps, pictures of the code. Most of this part will also be more or less the same. It just depends on what we are reading and writing. So as I said, instead of text or int writable, if you are using other data types, some of the imports may change. Otherwise, this will be, I'll say, close to about 90-95% the same, unchanged. I'll scroll down now. The reducer class, it simply compares the marks, sets the min and max, and writes those to the output. So this out value you can see is int writable because we are writing int writable. Although we would just like to write max and min because max and min are simple integer types, we can't write them. After we find the max and min, we are converting them into this out value, which is our int writable type. And then this out value is what we will write here. Actually, we should have used out value here directly, but I think these variables have remained
So
yeah.
I think you'll have to reshare your screen again. It's stuck.
Okay. Is it visible now? I'm again at the top of the code.
Yes, yes.
So this is the first part of the code. And scroll down to the reducer class. And then the main method. Then how to run the example also. The first step is the compilation step. Second is the jar creation. Third, we will create the student directory. We'll upload our input file to HDFS inside that student directory. Then we will try to run our code with the input file and the output file. And assuming that all is successful, we will try to view the output file. Of course, if any of the steps are not successful, we'll have to sort out whatever are the problems, then accordingly proceed. Okay, so try this, and meanwhile, of course, if you are not clear about something or facing any errors which you can't solve, get back to me. Any questions before you start? Ideally, what I would suggest is create a separate directory inside your Java book example or whatever folder, because otherwise the files will just get mixed up. It's better to keep code like this in a separate directory so that you don't later on get confused about which code is for which file and which input file is going to be used for your code. All those complexities will reduce. Okay, so I'll use this time to complete the attendance. Division A, we are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9,
Present, sir. Sir,
11,
PRN 2 present. Sir, PRN 6 present, sir.
okay, 11,
Present, sir.
15, 16, 18, 23, 28,
83 present.
Sir, 28 present.
37, 8,
38 present, sir.
41,
41 present, sir.
46, sorry, 44 I missed. 6, 8,
48 present, sir.
1, 2,
52.
3, 54,
54 present, sir.
6,
56 present, sir.
59, 60, 61, 4, 9,
PRN 69 present, sir.
70, 71,
71 present, sir.
72,
So 72 present.
73,
73 present.
74, 75,
75 present, sir.
76,
76 present, sir.
77,
Present, sir. 77.
78,
Present or 78.
80,
80 present, sir.
81, 84, 85, 87, 89,
Sir, 89 present.
91,
So 91 present, sir.
92,
Present, sir. 92.
95,
95 present, sir.
96, 97, 98,
So 98 present.
100, 103,
Present, sir.
104, 105, 107, 108,
So 46 also present. I wasn't able to turn on my mic earlier due to some personal issue.
okay, 108, 109,
50 present.
is only division A at the moment. Okay, anyone from division A, I will not be able to mark it after this. Okay, cannot go back and forth again and again. Anyone from division A?
Sir, did you mark PRN 6?
Yes.
And sir, 28, sir.
Sorry. 107 I have already marked. 100 I have marked.
Sir, 28, sir.
28 is already marked.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, division A is complete. I'll not be able to mark anyone else's attendance. Division A after this. Division B, we are in 5,
Present, sir.
7,
Present, sir.
8,
Present, sir.
10,
Present, sir.
12, 12, 13,
Present, sir.
14, 17,
Sir, 19 present.
17, 20, 2, 4,
Present, sir.
26, 7,
Present, sir.
9,
Yes, sir. 29.
30, 31,
Present, sir.
33,
Sir,
4,
PRN 30 present. Sorry for the delay.
33, 34, 36,
36 present, sir.
39,
Present, sir.
3, 5,
55 present, sir.
Sir, 50 present.
not reached those numbers. 45, 47, 50, you said you are there. 5,
55 present, sir.
7, 8,
58 present, sir.
57 present, sir.
3,
Yes, sir. 63.
5,
Present, sir. 65.
6,
Present, sir.
7,
Present, sir. 67.
8, 79,
Present, sir.
82,
Present, sir.
83,
Present, sir.
86,
Present, sir. 86.
90,
Present, sir. 90.
93,
Present, sir. 93.
99,
Present, sir. 99.
101, right? Okay, so let's maybe stop for our usual break. And since you are working on some code, some task, maybe come back in another 20 minutes or so. So it's 8:54. So take a break, of course, but also continue working on the code. And let's resume in another 20 minutes. That is, we'll start at 9:15. Okay, until that time, if some of you have either completed at least the coding part, if you're facing any problems, compilation or anything else, do let me know. If you are able to move forward, of course, very good. Continue working on it. Let's see, okay, how we are able to face any problems that we get or either complete it without any hindrance. So let's resume our discussion at 9:15.
So, I had a few questions about the examination and such.
Sure, we can have a call if you wish later.
Sir, like it would be a general question. Like most of them have it. So if it's okay to
Okay, then
ask.
you can ask it now, and maybe
So
then we will go for a break.
yeah. So will we get an option for Java and Python in the examination? Like the
No,
time.
we will not get an option. In a sense, there will be some questions on Python as well as on Java. As I had explained so last week, um, while let's say we are working on the Java examples, it will not be expected to write all the import statements. It will not be expected to write the exact syntax of the mapper, reducer, map reduce functions, but focus will mainly be on the logic part.
And sir, could you please upload the slides, like the whatever slides you taught us from, and the content you are teaching us?
Yes, no problem.
Thank you, so.
Yeah, another point actually, which some of you have asked since Akash raised this question about your data sets that you have selected from Kaggle and you are supposed to upload an assignment that you yourself have picked up. So I was thinking that initially that maybe you could put it on some Google Drive, but then I think an easier option would be that I'll create an assignment inside Microsoft Teams, and you can respectively upload your code and a document explaining what you have done along with the data set. That will make it easier for me also to track it PRN wise, and again, nobody should have that responsibility of setting up a Google Drive, then someone again goes ahead and deletes something. All those things will not happen. So you create an assignment in Microsoft Teams and you upload it in that particular assignment as a submission. Easiest option. And one more point, some of you may have noticed this. I had a conversation or a call with semester 4 student Saurav Maharana. Some of you, maybe of course, knowing him well. So he had some questions regarding big data analytics, how one should proceed in terms of learning, career options, and things like that. So I just told him that many students have this question, not just from semester 4 batch, whom I had taught this in semester 3 last year, and your batch, but also MSc students. So I just told him that we'll record this conversation and I'll share it. I've shared it in the file section to you also. If you're interested, just go through it. You may get some pointers. I'm not saying that you're not aware of it. Many of you already be knowing many of those answers, or may even have some different views as well. So all of that is perfectly fine. But do derive something useful from it. Maybe that will help. So do find it interesting. Just listen to it fully. Otherwise, just have a glimpse, whatever you choose. Anything else? Okay, then of course you can ask questions later if you remember. So let's break now and we'll resume at 9:20. Hi everyone. Let's resume the session. Of course, I'm not going to interrupt you. Let you continue working on the example, but in case you have any questions or anything is not clear, to let me know. Okay, Shubhavi, you're there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have seen your message also. Just wanted to.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I'll just seek your attention for a few minutes because I just want to explain something very interesting, and then you can continue whatever you are doing. Just share the screen first. I hope again that you can see my Notepad++ screen. Someone confirm, please.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what I have done actually in this code, okay, before that, this is the output which code will produce. So chemistry, max marks 93, minimum marks 36, physics. But more important than that, what I have also done is just to add this line to the code, and you may also try it while you are coding it. I've said system.out.println key equal to key and value equal to marks. So this helps us actually understand how the reduce code works, because if we just run it without, let's say, any system.out.println to track or to see how the code works, we will directly see this final output. Maybe we'll not understand how it directly wrote this, although the logic, of course, intuitively tells us that it should have worked in a certain fashion. But if you add this statement and then you run the code, then something interesting happens, which I want you to note. So in the Hadoop directory, inside the logs folder, logs directory, you will see something called as user logs. And in this user logs, for the applications, the code that we run, it keeps on creating the logs. Okay. So here, for example, it has created 3 directories. And if I open the first directory, if you look at the date and time, you can see that I have just run this code a few minutes ago. So in the first directory, if I open it, the std out is actually 0 bytes, which means there is absolutely nothing there. So it is empty. And the log will tell you that it is being run, okay, all the steps, etc. So what all steps it is executing in order to run this. This may not be so useful, but I'm just showing this to you that in case, let's say, things are not working and you have to track maybe why something is not working, this could be useful. But what we are going to see next is very useful, which is this std out, as we noticed in the first in this first directory, is not very useful. But let's now look at the second directory. So these are actually the various passes or steps through which the reduce function is going. So now we see that the std out in the second directory has 1 KB of data. What is that data? So here now it's saying key equal to chemistry, value equal to 38. And again, key equal to chemistry, value equal to 36, and so on. So for all the values of chemistry, it is putting this in the std out file of the log. And same way it is putting it for the physics values. So if we compare this with our input file, okay, we will see that it has already sorted this, and it has taken chemistry with 36 as the 38 as the first value, then chemistry with 36 as the second value. So the sorting has already happened on the key. The values are not sorted. Values are just picked up either in the order they are in the input file or the way they would get distributed on the various cluster components of Hadoop. So in other words, some part of data is getting processed somewhere, ideally, and other parts of data are getting processed on other machines. So all that intermediate processing, the log is showing us. Okay, so this helps us debug. So it is telling us that when we are running our code, first time when it has come to the reduce function, it has got chemistry and 38. Then second time when it has run chemistry 36 and so on. When it has exhausted chemistry, it has gone to physics first value, physics second value. So this loop, how it executes, we can very clearly see in this second std out file. And then in the third pass, okay, we'll go back to the log. Now we see that there is a third directory. In this third pass of our code, it has also done this execution of the code. So all that is done, which means mapping is done, sorting is done, combining is done. And now it is doing the final job, which is reducing. How are we reducing? We are simply printing the min and max for both the subjects. So if we see the third and final log files output, it will show us the final result, which is exactly what we see on the screen. So as we can see, it goes through intermediate steps like sort, shuffle, combine, and then reduce. So here it also has a shuffle file, okay, where it is merging, sorting, combining, shuffling. We don't see all of this. This is handled by Hadoop. So it's saying, for example, merged one segment, 62 bytes to disk to satisfy the reduced memory limit. So all that churning is happening internally, but the programmer is sort of hidden from all these complexities, and all that the programmer sees is the final result. But it's useful for us to know how we have arrived at this result. Simple trick to do that is add system.out.println statements wherever you feel you need some tracking, and then you see the corresponding output in the Hadoop logs directory. So that is some useful trick that you can use in Hadoop type of example. You can carry on. Right. In any case, actually, I do not have anything to add what we discussed today. So maybe we'll just end this meeting, but I'll be, of course, available in case you have any questions or something in the example is not working. So do complete the example. Do send me the output on the individual chat, and for whatever reasons you are facing issues, as usual, let me know that also. I'll try to resolve it with you if required through the desk or some remote session. Also, next week, yeah, it's 1st of May, so we will not have the big data session on Saturday because I think it's going to be a holiday. So we'll directly meet on the 8th of May. But in the meanwhile, just to reiterate, I'll create an assignment in the big data subject on Microsoft Teams for you to upload your assignment, and I'll very clearly mention there itself what all needs to be submitted so that there is no confusion about anything. And also the deadlines will be mentioned very clearly, and the assignment will also close on the specified date and time. Anything else from anyone? All right, then let's stop here for today. And as I said, we'll directly meet on the 8th of May. So until then, take care, and also complete this core, your assignment, all your other commitments for other subjects. So wish you all the best, and see you after a week's gap on the 8th of May. Till then, bye bye.